Welcome, fellow sojourners, to the journey of life. It turns out I'm really bad at not working hard. Alright, let me explain. Strap in, boys and girls. This story's going to be a doozy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the showdown. We about to really have a showdown. We about to kill it, about to blow down. We about to kill it, about to blow down.
Get the glow, for the fight. It's a moment that's gonna define rest of your life. Don't really know where you've been. Living life in a loop, grave missing both ends. Don't really know where you're gonna go. But that's okay, cause that's why I have this show. Cause that's why I have this show.
Immediately after I posted episode 1 of my YouTube show, I was really excited to begin working on episode 2. I recorded the audio for it, and I'd been feeling really introspective. And so my audio, my emotions were very raw. I thought that this was a perfect opportunity to do 2 things. To be perfectly honest, to do 3 things. First, I thought that maybe through my own introspection and emotional pain, I could help somebody else. You know, we're all on this journey of life together, and by me walking the journey and, falling into pitfalls, maybe you who are walking on the same journey, can avoid the pitfalls, or at least feel some commiseration when you fall into the pitfalls too, because let's be honest, that's what happens. So I really was excited to make something that might help somebody else. On top of that, this was an opportunity for me to tackle some of the more serious issues that this YouTube show is going to be tackling. Now, this show has layers. It's set up so that if you're here watching my content for the essays and the tutorials, you can do that and you can enjoy it. But for fans who want to dig a little bit deeper, you'll be rewarded with the lore of the show. There's characters, there's lore, there's stories and plot lines within this show. And I'm super excited to begin getting into that. And this show introduced some of those characters, so this episode did. And the third thing I wanted to do was quite possibly make some money. Yes. So, this audio, really, it hit home. You can feel it when you do something and the audio, you feel like, oh, this is going to be good. Like, that's what this was. It was good. And so I was really happy to begin working on this. Unfortunately, that's when the issues started. Because this episode was so dear to me, and because I really didn't want to mess up on a visual standpoint, there were several scenes in this that required some things that I had not practiced much with. Mainly interior backgrounds. I could draw a picture of a background, and I can make it look good. But I want to be able to do it quickly. I want to create a system for everything that I do here. Because you could draw one picture, but now draw that same picture 10 times from 4 or 5 different angles and make it look like it's the same background. I want to be able to do that in an efficient way, and so I was going to experiment with some different techniques. I'm multimedia. I don't stick to just one form of entertainment. I'll go anywhere. I'll make machinimas. I'll do stop motion photography, hand-drawn animation, 3D animations, just whatever I can do to get the job done, Yeah, and the other thing that was a roadblock is that there were 2 characters I haven't designed for this YouTube show. And this episode includes both of them. So I didn't want to mess up from a visual standpoint. So I decided to make a filler episode instead. Something quick, something easy. Something that I could get out in the month of December. See? You see what I did just there? That's called foreshadowing. Now, I'm on a Facebook group called Amateur Animators. and I saw that there were some people who were posting martial arts fights. I don't know if you know this, but I have a background of 8.5 years in the martial arts. So I went to the comics section because that's how I do, and I offered to give some reference images and some advice if they wanted it. And they said that would be cool. So I started to put that together, and then I thought to myself, what if I make this my filler episode? I wouldn't have to do any interior backgrounds or design any new characters for the episode, which would give me time to learn the techniques to make the important episode look great. Plus, I would be able to get it out in the month of December. I was a poor, ignorant fool to think that it would be easy. Okay, now, I'm sure that I could have made it very easily if I didn't care about it looking good, but the problem with making something that looks good is that the better you want it to look, the more time you're going to have to put into making it. Here's a lesson, guys. Skill takes time to learn, and skill saves you time. When you're just learning, you can make wonderful, beautiful, amazing content if you do the research to figure out what you have to do, but it's going to take you a lot of time at first. So if you want it to look good, just be prepared. It's going to take you a long time. So, that out of the way, here's what happened. So I started recording the audio for my filler episode, and I had a pretty darn good intro. Here, watch this.
McBill was fervently preparing to set out on the journey of greatness. But before he can do that, he must complete the next episode of his YouTube show. The next episode features awesome things like moving images and interior backgrounds, which are difficult to do. So instead of doing the right thing and working hard to get out the next episode on time, he decides to make a filler episode instead.
See, it communicates the idea that, one, this is a filler episode, and two, it communicates the emotional and mental state of the main character of this YouTube show, as well as introducing the character Jones. I wanted to slowly introduce some of the darker themes of this show, and framing those darker themes with the face of a joke that later turns out not to be a joke, really appeals to me. Although you've already seen Jones, he's featured in literally the opening of this show, I felt like this was a good way to slowly introduce the concept of Jones, who and what he is. That's what I did right. Here's what I did wrong. Now, the premise of this video was a list of things that you should include in a martial arts fight. I was going to explain the concept and then show a video of me performing each technique. You see, animators rely heavily on reference images for realism. If you're an animator and you haven't taken the martial arts, you're going to end up copying both the strengths and the flaws of whatever performer you're using as a reference material. See, here's an example. Look at this video of me doing a sidekick. Taking into account the differences in styles, this is a good example of a correctly performed sidekick. Assuming that you're not intending on actually hitting a target. You see, when you're striking a target as opposed to kicking, just air, there's going to be an equal and opposite force pushing back on you. So you would shift your hips slightly differently. If I was to strike somebody with the exact technique that you saw in the video, maybe I could give them a black eye or a bloody nose. But a correctly performed sidekick will break a jaw or shatter a rib cage. It's all about how and when you shift the hips and how and when you complete the technique. Here's another example. Now, Bruce Lee has fantastic technique in this video, assuming that he's not trying to hurt the person that he's fighting. You gotta remember, Bruce Lee was incredibly strong. if he was trying to actually hurt his opponent, you wouldn't have seen the guy fly back. You would have seen Bruce Lee's foot sink into the person's chest, and the guy maybe would have gone back about 2-3 foot, then he would have collapsed on the ground dead. A little fun fact, though, in this scene, those 5 guys that were behind him, they were there to keep the man from hitting the ground. So yeah, I hope that you can see the value in a video like this being made. So I began working on it, and I ran into 2 problems. 1, it was not entertaining to watch. I mean, look, if you click on a video that says, how to animate martial arts, then you're going to want to watch someone actually animate something. Especially if the person has an animated intro and a sort of kind of almost maybe animated avatar. The second issue is, by making this video, I was sort of closely approaching illegal activity. Not really. Okay, look. You see, I'm not technically certified to teach Taekwondo in the American Taekwondo Association, even though I was in it longer than most people who get certified take to get certified. In this video, I wasn't teaching the forms, and I wasn't teaching it with the mindset that anyone would actually be performing these techniques. In fact, in the video, several times I warned people that if you treat this instructional video like an instructional video, you'll end up getting hurt. See, I have trained in more than one style of Taekwondo, so legally I would be in the clear, saying, oh, this is actually a World Taekwondo Federation sidekick and not an American Taekwondo Association sidekick. Here's the issue, though. Okay? Now, hear me out. The American Taekwondo Association hires lawyer ninjas to go around and find people who are illegally teaching their style of martial arts without being certified. And I don't know about you, but I'll stand up to a ninja, and I'll stand up to a lawyer. But you combine the 2 together, and you have me scared poopless. You go challenge the clan of lawyer ninjas, and I'm going to go over here and be a coward. So, yeah. Back to the drawing board I went. So, I went back to my truck/recording booth and recorded a new set of audio. I felt genuinely better about this than I did the last one. The original audio just never really felt right to me, and so I was kind of relieved that I gave myself the freedom to start over. Unfortunately, the issues with this new recording started with the recording itself. I have a rather bad addiction to caffeine. Not only do I use it to stay up late when I need to get stuff done, but I also use it as the world's most ineffective coping mechanism for stress and anxiety. See, here's a picture of me with my coffee cup. I only have about 3 to 5 cups of coffee a day, which under normal circumstances would be a perfectly balanced and healthy amount of caffeine. Yeah. Anywho, I had my cup of coffee sitting in my lap when I was doing the recording, and the sound waves bounced off of the glass mug and made everything sound kind of tinny. I thought that I could make up for the bad audio by making fun of it in the video itself. See, look, I got this little avatar guy, and he kind of sidekicks the audio file to make it look like a clipped audio file. See, isn't that funny? Yeah. The problem with this type of self-deprecating humor is that I'm doing it wrong. I have a video I'm going to be making at some point in the future that is a deep dive analysis into the humor of the YouTuber Danny. One of the conclusions I come to in that video is that if you're going to make self-deprecating humor, he is the one that makes it right. And he does it right because he makes fun of his strengths, not his weaknesses. If you make fun of your strengths, then people will laugh with you. And at you, but also with you. If you make fun of your own weaknesses, then you're just a wounded puppy. And look, nobody finds a wounded puppy funny. Or at least nobody that's mentally stable finds a... Okay, yeah, that's stupid. Moving on. Besides that, the structure of my video was actually pretty decent. Here's how I had it laid out. I started the video off. The first part was me animating a guy doing a sidekick. After that tutorial, I then went into a deep dive analysis of my animation and explained the points where it looks good and why it looks good from a martial artist's point of view. You know, the physics of how martial arts work and why this animation works. After that, the third part of my video was a deep dive analysis on a professionally animated fight. It was a fight from World's Mightiest Disciple, something that had made a big impact me when I saw it for the first time. After that, the last part of my video was a list of the things that animators should include in animating a fight scene. So the last section of the video was the original full video. As far as the humor is concerned in this, I had a lot of moments that I'm genuinely proud of. For example, here's this clip. When the knee dips below the foot, that's something called dipping the knee. And there are some martial artists who do this, like Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, who are definitely valid martial artists who know what they're talking about. But I also had this moment that I'm really proud of. Now, the audio for it went like this. So, now I have 3 frames. Put them together. Pop, pop. It's kind of rough, but it works. You know, it's YouTube. YouTube is forgiving, right? Yeah. So, originally, I was just going to have the YouTube logo appear behind me like a towering giant, and I was going to be like scared of it. But then, when I was editing it together, I got the idea that I could actually have a towering giant standing behind me. So I went and I drew that picture and put it all together and put it in the video. And then I had another idea that what if I have like the giant grab me and like eat me? So what I did is I grabbed a still image from Attack on Titan of a Titan eating somebody, and I put the logo over top of the Titan's face and edited it all together. That way it looks like the Titan grabs me and stuffs me and is about to stuff me in his mouth. And the fact that Attack on Titan is such a violent TV show would imply what's going to happen next. And so my favorite type of humor is humor that makes people think. So here's how it looked. So now I have 3 frames. Put them together. Pop, pop. It's kind of rough, but it works. You know, it's YouTube. YouTube is forgiving, right? Yeah. So really, it flies by too fast for you to be able to see what's going on, but anyone who goes back and pauses it will get the joke. And I really like the idea of rewarding people for watching my content. I hope that you appreciate this joke because it took me 45 minutes to implement. Now, granted, this is a 1-second gag. Think about that. I have about 6 hours a week that I could dedicate towards this YouTube show, and I spent 1/2 of a day working on 1 second of my video. Remember what I said at the beginning? This is just a filler episode. This is only the filler episode. What am I doing with my... As I was saying, I also had this moment here in the video. Point for realism. The second point is because this avatar is a sexy beast. Cringe humor. Dunk, 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 dunk. Yeah. Now, everything that I said about self-deprecating humor a couple minutes ago still applies. So by my own definition, this is not a funny gag. But I'm still proud of it because it's not funny on purpose. It looks like a joke, but really, this is setting up something that will pay off in the future. As you watch this show, you're going to see just how unfunny this moment actually is. So anybody that laughs at this is going to regret it later. And as a storyteller, I absolutely love punishing my audience. I don't know why. I love causing you guys pain. It makes me feel like, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm smart. So, yeah. I had finished my video up to the 19-minute mark, and I watched it. I hated it. It was boring. It was busy. The audio was terrible. There were so many things wrong with it that I couldn't, pinpoint what was sabotaging it, because all of these elements were forgivable. Not good, but forgivable. But there was something deeper that was just messing me up. And I watched it so many times, and I tried to get other people's feedback on it. And it was just very frustrating, especially because I'd spent 2 months on this thing that was supposed to be easy. I ended up setting my phone down, and I decided to, take a break from it for a couple days and watch some YouTube. I stepped away from the project, and it allowed me to get out of that micro-analyzing, focused mentality and relax and view the macro picture. And that is when it occurred to me. Now, as you've probably noticed by now, this show contains multiple characters, and they communicate through different colored text that flashes across the screen. It flashes too fast for the audience to be able to read what's going on. And occasionally they'll have, animated sections at the ends of episodes. Wink, wink,
Wank.
Well, for this episode, I included a lot of diagrams. And diagrams are not a bad thing. I love diagrams. I think in diagrams. They make me feel smart. But the problem is the amount of words I included in these diagrams. Like, okay, look at this. Look at this monstrosity. This is an abomination. Nobody's going to read this. If I was just going to write a book, why didn't I write a book? Who's going to take their time to stop and read all of this information, especially when half of it is redundant? The effect of having all of this, conversations of, Jones and Malcolm and all the other characters talking in the background with the diagrams and all of this information is that it completely broke the immersion of the audience. And when you break the immersion of an audience, you lose them. It doesn't matter how valuable it is. Pacing and immersion is everything. So I was left with a choice. 1, I could try and fix the video. I could break up the audio and create moments of silence so that the audience can truly observe and process these diagrams. And, trim down the words, like take out a lot of the words. Just let the pictures speak for themselves. Or 2, I could scratch this entire thing and start this video process over again. Now, it's kind of a difficult question. On the one hand, I don't want to waste more time than necessary. Remember, this is just a filler episode. It's not like I actually care or anything. Starting over from scratch would definitely take a lot of time. But fixing my episode also has issues. If I take the appropriate amount of screen time for each diagram so that the audience can process it, well, my video is already 30 minutes long. You would almost double the amount of time. And so I wouldn't have a filler episode. I would have a filler movie. No, I'm not going to make a filler movie. This is a filler episode. On top of that, my audio quality wasn't good to begin with, and so, it's not worth my time. So, what do you think I decided on? This was my decision, okay? The decision I made so that I could make best use of my time. And I just want to say, I'm sorry. I am sorry to my little poor baby filler episode. I didn't mean to do this to you. I didn't mean to make you into the monster that you have become, to be this titan that has finger snapped all of my time and creative energy. I did not mean to turn you into a little shop of horrors plant. I did not mean for you to become a parasite on my life. I'm sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you my filler episode.
Part 1! There's going to be 5 parts in total. Right now, this is part one of my filler episode. The next part of my filler episode is going to be all about animation. I'm going to animate some martial arts techniques and show you the process that I use and some other techniques that you could use as well. After that, the next part is going to be on analyzing those animations from the point of view of a martial artist. So you can see from a physics standpoint how to make best use of these techniques for story narrative. After that, we're going to do a deep dive analysis on some professionally done fights. And then, to fill up this filler episode extravaganza, we are going to have a list of things you should include in an animated fight. Overall, I suspect that this filler episode could have a runtime of anywhere between an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. There's going to be 5 parts in total. What am I doing? I didn't even want to do this. This is just a filler.
Nop, nip, nop, 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 hip, hop, 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 hip, hop, 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 nop, nop.
Look at this. This is a masterpiece. It's wonderful, beautiful. It is not a waste of time at all. That is not true. This was a complete waste of time. You will have no benefit from the effort that you've expended today. That can't be true. Look, the comedic timing. It's hilarious. It's wonderful, glorious. No. Your humor is boorish. It's stupid. Everyone else sees this. You know it's true as well. The only reason why you continue to tell jokes, despite the fact that you know you suck, is because you're hoping to find someone you can make an emotional connection with. But there is no one. You are wasting your time. Your ideas, they are wonderful. They're glorious. You need to set them free. Set your ideas free, and you will soar through the sky like an eagle. Come with me, fly, fame awaits. You will be loved. You will be dead before you find anyone that ever cares.